Hello and welcome to a very special video. I'm going to talk about Sebastian Yarrick, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the new model, which I'll hit you up with first if you actually care about that. The new model is, for the most part, within reason, a pretty decent model in terms of representing Yarrick. He looks older. The armor is close enough, even though there are some stylistic changes. And for the most part, he's at least reflective of the original, or at least the 2000 model that most people are probably the most familiar with. I don't hate it. I don't think it's poorly done. I don't think there's anything grotesque, though I do think it's a little bit funny that he has been moved to the Warhammer 40k, or at least Games Workshop standard issue tactical rock, which I don't hate tactical rocks, but I do find it a little bit funny. There's a couple things they could have put him on, but hey, whatever. Rocks can be all over the place. Overall, the model does look like him, even if there are a number of tiny changes, which you'll probably notice if you put the models, or at least the images of the models, next to each other. Like, for example, his hat has gotten much smaller. His tassels have changed. The decoration on his breastplate has altered. The tie on his sash is a little different, and of course a couple other things from there. And that's not even talking about his OG model. So from here, we're going to mostly just wibble on a little bit. And then I'll talk about these guys on screen in a second. So if you care about the models that I'm showing, hey, I'll be asking some questions and talking about what I'm doing with them, and we'll go from there. So it's the original Commissioner Yarrick, or Sebastian Yarrick, model came out in 1992. Now, for some reason, my brain kept saying 94, and I have no idea why. It might have just been when I saw it in the flesh for the first time. I lived in a small area where the shop didn't always get a consistent release of models. They were also in blisters, so you had to do a lot of looking for some of those. Now, the second one came out in 2000, and again, it's not a model I owned. My personal favorite Yarrick model remains his very first. I find something very appealing about the Rogue Trader aesthetics, even though it wasn't. Model for Yarrick with that kind of goofy crab claw thing he had going. So for some reason, just always liked it, and I just liked how his uniform was put together, and well, the artwork was fantastic. But over time, especially with the shift of the setting from kind of colorful and wacky, which honestly, when your setting's finding its footing, you're often going to have a shift in tone as you kind of establish what it's like. It's how stories and writing and all of these things go, and anyone who tries to make these arguments that, oh, why isn't it consistent all the way through? Just discount those people because they've never written anything outside of a fanfic about how they're a wizard or something like that. Regardless, the shift came over time, and well, 8 years later, we got the 2000 model, which I still think is a good model for the old man. You can see the age on him. You can see how things have changed. They've got a more established power claw, power fist, whatever you want to call it. I believe it's a power claw, if I'm not mistaken, but, I'm not looking at the rules themselves. I'm just going off the model itself. Pardon me. You can also really tell the change with the Stormbolter. It doesn't have the crazy skull and the kind of spinal cord feed that was connecting to his back in it. It's a large change. It's less colorful. It's more kind of brutalistic. Something you would see from let's say a World War I officer in the late war. Something darker, less colorful, a little bit more austere. But, he's still got his eye. He's got a fancy breastplate. was still a good model. And they didn't feel the need to shove the guy on a tactical rock. That was for you to do. Tactical rocks were provided by you. And now here we are, 26 years later. This model, released in 2000, is old enough to drink, have served a tour in the military, and be figuring out if it wants to eventually try to put down for a loan on an apartment. We now have the newer one, which again is a bit of a tonal shift. The hat's smaller. The breastplate has less color on it. They've pulled back on some of the even dressings from the last one. The Stormbolter's a little bit more simple. He's a little bit older, which is understandable, but the Power Claw is pretty in keeping with what he had from that 2000 model. It is a more stripped down look. Is that bad? Is it good? In my opinion, I think the model is just fine. And I wouldn't have any problem with someone putting it down on the table and going, here's Old Bale Eye. But if I'm going to give my personal opinion, and I had choice of any of the models right in front of me and I could pick them, if I had to go with something with the more modern era, I'd pick that 2000 model. It just is that good in between the new hammer and the old hammer. It's the mid hammer of the options. It does just enough on both ends that it kind of meets my happy place. Now, if I could pick any of them, I had them option-wise in my hand, and I couldn't, I'd still pick the original. Because it just has so much character, and it stands out so much. But that doesn't mean the new model's necessarily bad. It doesn't mean everything that Games Workshop has done is bad. Even if I don't like a number of the models, I have repeatedly said, on many levels, they do have actually good digital sculptors. And I think they did a decent effort to not only show the changing of time with Yarrick, but trying to keep him tied in with at least his second model. So overall, I think it's a good model. Now, I promised I would talk about if mimes were more evil or clowns. And the truth of the matter is, I believe they're equally evil, just in different ways. The clown is evil in an overt and aggressive manner. You can tell by Pennywise. And the mime is evil in a more silent, creeping up on you style, where he puts himself in an invisible box and then makes you responsible for the fact that he can't eat or breathe. It's terrible, it's evil, and they're both terrible things. And it's, again, a joke from the little thing I put up. Okay, so here's the last part with me talking about the models in front of us. So I found this fully put together box of Orlocks in a back shelf. I know, I'm bad. I was trying to do some cleaning and I went, oh, I completely forgot these guys were completely assembled and ready for painting. So let's move Fafnir over here. And I painted this guy as my test model. Now, while I think he looks pretty good, I haven't finished with the arm, just in case you're wondering, I am worried that he might be a little too on the red side between the chestnut, thank you everybody on Discord, chestnut brown, the red, his face, the brown on his hair, which was an experiment, and he's a little shiny because the shade I used I didn't realize had a gloss in it, so he's a little shiny. I don't hate him, and I think that the red and black on the arm's great, but let me know, guys, do you think I should repaint his vest with this kind of military green so that it balances out, so it doesn't take away from the face and the other details kind of live in harmony? I'm thinking that the military green might be the best option for the vest, because I'm worried that the chestnut brown is going to overload on the reddish tones and not work. If you guys want to know how I'm painting them, just let me know in the comment section and I'll put a thing together, and give me your opinion on what these vests should be. I'm just trying not to be a guy who constantly paints green, but with these colors, they tend to work together. So that's my opinions on it. Late. I don't expect anyone to really care about my opinions, but I do think it's interesting. Now, one other little thing about Yarrick before I go, and you know, I wish you guys a great weekend. I love the fact that the Bane blade that he rode on, which was modified for him, was called the Fortress of Arrogance. What a fantastic 40k name. If we can be happy about anything, there's one I think new fans, old fans, middle fans, and that guy in the corner that's probably doing mime stuff can all agree on, is that the Fortress of Arrogance is a fantastic name for a Bane blade. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope this was at least somewhat informative. I didn't really go into any major rules or anything like that. I just wanted to talk about the history of the model as my own experience and my thoughts on the new one. And I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and bye-bye!